Please welcome the CEO of Dubai Airports, Paul Griffiths, in conversation with CNBC journalist Emma Graham.
Good morning, everyone. Paul, so great to share the stage with you today, CEO of Dubai Airports. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And don't you love the way Skift just organizes one after the other? There's no pause for reflection. It's just on and on and on. Fantastic.
It really is. I'm so happy we get to have this conversation today because you've got a great story to tell, Paul. You just retained the title for the world's busiest international airport and hub for the 10th consecutive year. This is amazing news. And some big numbers as well. You welcome 68.6 million guests until September. And you raised your annual forecast, 93 million passengers this year.
That's right. We're growing faster than any other international airport of comparable size. But the most important thing is I hope that every single traveller that goes through our airport has a fantastic experience, because the numbers you can't dispute. And it's great being the biggest, but, I hope that we're the best. And I could, anyone here had a bad experience and doesn't think we're the best, see me afterwards.
I don't think we'll find anyone. And we were just talking about this backstage. It's a seamless experience in Dubai compared to other international airports when you and I travel, and we travel a lot, Paul. What does a seamless passenger experience at Dubai airports look like to you?
Well, the worst thing I think about airports is that we have been stuck with legacy processes that go back sort of 50 years. And I think that there needs to be some much more innovative thinking. And it's not about putting more stuff in, it's about taking stuff away. I'd love to see a vision of an airport of the future where there's absolutely no stops, no check-in, no baggage problems, no passport control, security. It's all taken care of whilst you're just breezing through a very manageable space. What we do not want is longer walking distances, queues, legacy technology that really does no favors in terms of customer service. So we're really, really trying hard to make the flow through the airport as enjoyable and as quick and seamless as we possibly can, both on departure and arrival.
And you're targeting 100 million passengers in, I think, 2027. How do you invest in the right technology to continue that experience and make it seamless with that many people?
Well, the first thing, you've got to open your minds to the art of possibility. And I think when you look at business transformation, most of the big business transformations that we've witnessed are where companies have just stopped and started again. They've decided, right, individual taxis are not an efficient means of transport. So Uber and Lyft and everyone came in and said, let's just disrupt completely the business model and start again. And so they disaggregated the whole idea of individual taxis and created a network. If you look at eBay, you look at Amazon, you look at so many of the other major platforms, they've done exactly the same thing. And I rather think we need to do the same in the airport space. And, the technology of check-in, how many other products do you buy where when you actually come to use the product, you have to contact the company and say, yes, I bought your product, you've got my money, and I do really want to use it again. It's a waste of time, And why do luggage manufacturers not pre-print a barcode on every suitcase you buy with a unique identifier? Why are we asking people to work out how to peel off the back of that sticky bit of tape and put the paper on it? When you see in American airports, people who haven't done this before, it's quite amusing if it wasn't so tragic.
It's amazing. I always tell them, I don't work here, so I'm not doing that.
Exactly.
I need help.
So, come on, guys, why are we sticking paper labels onto suitcases in the 21st century? It's those sorts of questions my colleagues in the airport business really need to answer.
Yeah, and I've even heard that you're thinking about removing physical passport control. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, hopefully some people in this room, or a lot of people in this room, hopefully have experienced that you can go through Dubai airports on arrival and departure without physically taking your passport out of your pocket, because the facial recognition signature that we've synthesized with the GDRFA here, the immigration authority, actually is your passport.
Is it more secure?
It is more secure. Facial recognition is the rate of false positives is one of the lowest in the different technologies. There's various other ways, retinal scanning and there's a vein signature that we've all got that's unique, but actually facial recognition is pretty good. And if you're dealing with a subset of people that are going through the airport, you can eliminate that still further. So it's very reliable, and we're working out a way now to do away with the gates. So you can actually have facial recognition in a crowd, bit like Minority Report with Tom Cruise. It's funny actually how I watch Hollywood movies and I see, yes, that's the technology that actually doesn't exist at the moment, but thank you, Tom, we'll put that in the airport next year. It comes like that. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall, the way they walk through airport security in the station there, and that you see the skeleton of the dog. We don't want to go that far. But it's the idea of non-stop security where we don't get in the way with these processes. That's the idea. And if you've got someone watching on a screen, and as people are walking through, if they've got green rectangles around their faces, they're fine. They've got a red rectangle. They just need someone to say, excuse me, can I ask you a few questions? Why are we applying these same invasive processes? I mean, how many other products and services do we consume where you actually have a physical pat down by a burly, military-looking security guard? I mean, when I go through airports and, you think about the sort of emotional branding that is created by the brands, because I'm worth it, I'm loving it, all those sorts of things. They create those positive responses. When you get to an airport and you go, liquids out, laptops, anything sharp in here? Come on, hurry up, please. Right, take the tray, line number 4, and my personal favorite. I told you to take your belt off. I don't think that's particularly welcoming to you.
Have a bit of PTSD with the bags. I'm really grateful we don't have to put our liquids in bags at Dubai Airport. So thank you.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you see, look, when people arrive at an airport, either on arrival or departure, it's that moment of truth. They will get an impression of what the country is like based on the welcome or otherwise they get at the airport. So if you want to create the impression of a city, then it's created at the airport. And I take that very responsibly. And I do not want to let the great things that have been able to be created in this city down by creating a poor impression on arrival. I mean, there's an airport which I won't name in New York, which is named after a president. And it was fantastic because I had a full iPad charge and I was able to watch 2 box sets on Netflix before I got through immigration. 4 hours, 40 minutes it took.
What did you watch?
I think I watched the disappearing of MH370, actually. I wish I'd been on that plane by the time I got to... Yeah.
So you spoke about how special Dubai is, and it really has the secret sauce to making travel, living, a really special experience. What role can this great city play as we move forward and as travel changes and as we increase this technology?
Well, the great thing is about Dubai is from the very top down, from the ruler, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, he's a great champion of technology. He loves the idea of Dubai doing things that you couldn't possibly conceive in other cities. And that's a fantastic role to be following. And it's fantastic. I remember when I was running Gatwick, when I went to meet the immigration authorities and I said, look, we've got more flights from the US arriving at just the time that the immigration shift change happens. Can we do something to overlap the 2 shifts so you've got more people on duty to make the experience? Well, sorry, we get our budget set by the government at the beginning of the year and we can only employ that number of people and we'd never get the union to agree. And I just thought, customer service doesn't really feature here, does it? But here it's all about, we know that this city goes from strength to strength because of the quality of the experience that people have here. And the more differentiated we can make it from the rest of the world, the better the prospects for Dubai. And that has to start at the airport and finish at the airport. So there's a huge, I think, drive to conceive the new airport that we're building to be a proper 21st, if not 22nd century airport. And the problem is the devil is in the design in airports. I think they're far behind the curve because we used to build buildings and put systems in, and hopefully it all worked. Now we're getting a little bit more advanced. We're conceiving systems and buildings, at least having the conversation. But in the future, the pace of technological change will only continue to accelerate. And one of the big problems is if you're designing a building for the future now, you will have to integrate systems into it that you can't fully define. And I would suggest we need to upend that and say, right, we know that the technology is coming. What is the application going to look like? And how do we then need to design a building around a technology that hasn't actually been industrialized yet? And that, I think, is the challenge. And I think proper enlightened debate on that needs to happen in airport design. I don't think it's happening at the moment.
So you have a $35 billion plan for this amazing new airport. I've been there during the World Cup. I flew several times, and that was a really big launch for you guys originally to have some flights going in and out of the new airport. Tell us about this expansion plan and what you see. What's your vision?
Well, I think the thing is, first of all, I don't want to create the world's largest airport. I want to recreate the reason why I got into travel. I was absolutely besotted with the romance of travel, and I thought it was a wonderful experience. And I think the thing is, some of the airports that no longer exist were some of the most pleasant because they were intimate. The walking distances were short. The distances between, the aircraft parked and you got off the plane, the baggage belt was right there and you got out. I mean, Berlin had a fantastic airport at Tegel. The distance between the aeroplane and the taxi was about 50 meters. It was amazing. And you could be in a taxi in literally about 3 minutes. And of course, now that's gone. And we've got a much bigger airport that took a while to get fit for purpose there. And there are many other examples. Hong Kong's old airport, Kai Tak, was very compact. So the thing is, you see, why when architects get hold of a new airport project, do they think, 260 million, let's create this vast complex and this enormous check-in area. You go through Beijing, you look at this sort of size of the check-in hall, and it's just really daunting. You go through other airports and where the distances to the gates are just, it's great for your steps, but it's not great if you're running for another flight and it's a long way away and you don't know whether you're going to have any time in the lounge at all. So what I'd like to do is create 8 small airports within the space of one large airport, and the only common thing we share is the runways. So the check-in needs to be very, very compact. You step out of your car or out of your air taxi, which is all the rage, and you step into a completely different environment. You get onto a train, you get off at the right place. Your phone and your ticket on your phone tells you when you're in the right place. We've just launched a new app which is all about maps now. That's linked with hundreds of beacons across the airport. So we're now guiding you digitally to your gate and telling you how long you've got and what's on the way. And I think, if we could deliver you to an intimate concourse where your plane's right there, the lounges are there, the bars, the restaurants are all there, the Louis Vuitton shops there, you can, shop till it's time to get on your plane. The other thing is, someone asked me yesterday, why do we go to the airport 2 hours before? Now, I still want you to come to the airport 2 hours before, but I don't want you to go and queue there. I want you to spend, 1 hour, 58 minutes in my shops, bars and restaurants, and 2 minutes going through the process. At the moment, we get there early because the process is so horrible. So I think the vision of the future is recreate the intimacy of travel, remove as much process as possible, and create the entire experience around delighting customer. I don't think it's a bad vision.
Can't wait to see it. Let's talk a bit about sustainability. This is a really important topic in your industry. I know you've spoken about sort of government structures and making sustainable aviation fuel a real requirement in a better way. Can you talk a little bit about that and what your vision is for sustainability in your sector?
Unfortunately, you start with a pretty massive problem. The difficulty is that there's nothing that's calorifically dense per kilo than a litre of Jet A1, and obviously it's fairly cheap to produce, etc., and it's ubiquitous. The amount of fuel that we uplift at DXB is just enormous every year, and the difficulty is that the scale of production we would need to replace that with sustainable aviation fuel is really quite daunting. I mean, it's interesting. They did an example in the UK. They did a calculation, and this is quite topical considering the debate on farmers at the moment that's raging in the UK, that actually if you provided the 12.7 million tonnes of aviation fuel that's consumed in the UK every year, you'd have to hand over half the arable land to sustainable aviation fuel production. So, that doesn't seem to be very sensible. You could fly sustainably, but then everyone would starve, so that's not a good outcome. So I think the difficulty is the technical solution to providing a sustainable source of propulsion for jet airliners is many decades away. I mean, we're talking about hydrogen. People are even talking about nuclear power for aircraft. So that obviously has to go through a huge amount of evolution and proving. So until that's found, we have to find a way of making aviation more sustainable. And I rather think that's about using alternative modes of transport as well as it is producing sustainable aviation fuel at scale. But on the ground at the airport, there's a lot we can do. We're already producing 63 megawatts of solar energy because, of course, the abundance of sunshine helps us here. And that saves over 23,000 tons of CO2 a year. What I want to do is ban any vehicle on the airport that's not powered by renewable fuel in some way, either hydrogen or electricity or other form. And there's a huge amount. We're aiming to send zero waste to landfill, lots and lots of different things. I think there will be a lot of incremental things we can do to reduce. There's not one silver bullet to swallow, that's for sure. So it's a tricky one. But I think 48% of the world's air journeys are for 500 miles or less. And although they don't produce most of the carbon that's produced by the aviation sector, if we could eliminate those by using roads and air taxis that are sustainable, then that'll be a better outcome. Big subject.
Looking forward to the air taxis, I have to say.
The air taxis are going to be great, I'll tell you that.
You have a special video you want to share with our audience, don't you?
I do, yes. I mean, this really sort of exemplifies the team approach that we've got at Dubai Airports. What we've tried very hard to do is to get everyone on board. We've got a great way of joining people's emotions together and serving the customer. And this video, which is all staff, there's no actors in it, really exemplifies that whole approach that we like to put our customers right at the front of everything we do.
Let's take a look. Thank you so much.